start. Let's turn the mic on, and now you should be able to hear me. Great start. Should we start this again? So good evening. Can't hear me. Boo. Can you hear me now? Hear me now. Everything cool now. Guitar sounds fine, so we can do that. Oh, the delay in this is brilliant because I've got to just fill or sit here looking silly until someone says, cool, there's no sound and now we can hear. Right, brilliant, awesome. Should we start again? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Ross, one of your friendly product specialists, and we're going to do another Learning with Line 6, and hopefully it's going to go smoothly from here on in. So, as I was saying when you couldn't hear me, so this came from the last live stream I did, where someone asked if we could go through splitting the signal. No sound at all. We should be good now. Turn your volume up, hopefully. Make sure everything's cool. Yeah, everything should be cool. Everyone's saying, yeah, cool. Brilliant. If we can go through splitting the signal to an amp and a cab or a combo on stage, and simultaneously going out to the PA, but actually splitting the feed so there's no cab sim to your on stage sound, but a cab sim to front of house. So that is what we're going to cover tonight. It's a relatively easy concept, and I've put a preset here that actually you can use with HX Stomp or Stomp XL as well. So that's basically the concept. So you're playing on stage and you've got something monitoring behind you. You've got an amp and a cab that you love, but if you put an amp, a cabinet model going through an actual real life amp and cab, it's going to sound a little bit funky, probably a bit muffled, certainly a bit weird. So you want a cab sim going to front of house, so consistency, the sound guy likes you, and you don't have to mess around miking cabs up, getting that kind of mic in the right position and all that good stuff. So the front of house sound is awesome, and your on stage sound is awesome, and you get the feedback and so on and so forth. So that's the concept. The setup is actually really simple, and this is what I've done. So I'll upload this to custom tone, and we will show you that link in a little while. So here's a signal chain. So this is what I've done. So there's a few different ways you can do this. This is the way I've done it, largely because then you can just use it with a Stomp or a Stomp XL. So guitar's coming in. This is the signal chain. I've put a few bits and bobs in just for fun. So I've got a compressor. I've got the Air Apparent, my favorite. The Cali Texas Channel 1. I've got a chorus because chorus, 80s. I've got that's a stereo chorus, and I've got a stereo delay and a stereo reverb. So you'll see the signal splits here. So the cabinet is down here. So the signal's going like that, and that's going out. Send 3 and 4. You can put a sound block in there. I'm using a Helix floor, as you can see. And then, so that's no cabinet sim. So that's going to go to my amp on stage. So I'm running this actually mono tonight and this stereo just because I ran out of cables. But the concept is the same. You can come out stereo if you've got a stereo power amp and do it stereo, or that will sum to mono, which is also quite handy. And then the signal splits go down here, and I've got a dual cab because stereo. And I'm using the Interstate 212. With a 67 condenser, which is becoming my new favorite, and then the lead 112, pretty much all stock, and then that is going out the main outputs, stereo left and right, into its own inputs on. So I'm actually using a Helix rack, so I don't, just to save extra messing around and extra miking up and potential disastrousness, I have, I will show you what I have. So I'm actually going into please repeat the top output name. Repeat the top output name. Oh right, okay, so the top output I'm going out of send 3 and 4 on Helix floor. With Helix floor you can go out, you can assign it to the, I'll come back to that. I will come back to that. So let's share this. 2 seconds, everybody. Helix racks. So this is what I'm going into. Reconnect. Come on. So that's my voice. That's what you can hear my voice going through, so you can ignore that. So this is the chain that I'm going into. This is kind of the pretend front of house and sort of on stage amp. So this is pretending to be my on stage amp. So I've put a cab sim in there. Again, same deal. Simples. And then that's my return. That's basically like the power amp input of an amp on stage, and then in the cab, and then that's just coming out. And then I've got this, which is the stereo return. So that is acting like my feed to front of house, which on Helix floor I would go out of the XLRs and do it that way. So let me cover that real quick. Hopefully that makes sense. Oh, we've gone a little bit weird here. There we go. And we are back in the room. So let me expand that. There we go. So how I'm running this now, so the 10, 3 and 4, that is going to the mono input into a cab sim, pretending to be an amp and cab, and then the 2/4 inch, because it's got a cab sim, I don't need that, so that's got its own feed, stereo left and right, into its own line. Hopefully that makes sense. So the concept is into some stuff, that's out to my amp and cab on stage, that's straight to the front of house. If I was using Helix floor, which confusingly I am, but I don't have the cables, there we go. So I would send that to the XLR and then that to the 1/4 inch. Simples, but I don't, so I'm doing that. So you can either use these or ignore these, and hopefully I'm not gibbering too much and that makes sense. Okay, so here's the sound. So I'll upload this, I'll post a link for you. If you download this and have a play, I've got 4 snapshots in here and they're just different levels of gain. So it's clean, crunch, heavier crunch, and then lead. It's all being done with 2 pedals, a compressor, and the air apparent. And they sound like that. So there's your crunch. And then more of a big lead. And I've put, I can't show you, but I've got stomp boxes on the top, so I can kick in a chorus. And maybe a stereo delay. And you put that on any of the presets. Simple as that. So you can hear hopefully if you're listening on headphones or on studio monitors or something, you'll hear the stereo effects in there. So if I turn off I've turned off the inputs on Helix Rack. So I've basically isolated the mono on imitation on stage sounds. It sounds like that. So you can hear that's mono. So that's what you would kind of be hearing on stage. Front of house would get the full stereo thing together. So you can do that. Is it possible to use the L6 link out instead of Sen 3 and 4 on the top output? Yes, absolutely, Mike. Let me add that. So yeah, really simple. You just go there and you go digital. That's it. Simple as that. So yeah, L6 link can go to a DT or a power cab or whatever, and do it like that. You can also run that stereo to a power cab 212, and then a separate feed to front of house. Yeah, pretty cool stuff. So that's the kind of basic concept of that. Let me add that back in. It was that one. There we go. So that's if you're running a separate kind of amp and cab on stage. If you're running a combo, a couple of things you can do. Obviously, you just go into the power amp return and use it as power amp and speaker cabinet. Or you can do a similar thing to this, but for cable method. And I've kind of been through this before, but a little while ago, so we'll revisit. And you have to use your a little bit of imagination with this because I've cabled up differently, and it will be really boring if I started recabling, so I won't. So basically, let's swap that to that, and then that will go out of the XLRs. So move this along. I don't need to move this along. I don't need to do that at all. So here's the concept for this. So imagine we're doing 4 cable method. Boom. Okay. Comment if I lose you, because like I said, this is kind of a bit, use your imagination with this, but I'll talk you through the concept. So guitar's coming in, hitting some stuff, and we're going to the input of whatever amp we're using. So, and then effects loop send from that back into the effects loop block here, and then this is the effects loop of the amp. Okay, anything that I put here is in the effects loop of the amp, and then we're going out of there back to the effects loop return of the amp. You got me so far? Good, brilliant. So these are stereo effects. Now, I have a cab sim here. If I put that in the loop, again, it's going to sound a little bit weird and funky. So I've pulled that out of the way in its own path. You can go onto a separate path if you need more stuff on here, which is what I usually do, or any of these effects in parallel. But what's happening is, this is the effects loop of the amp. That's going back. This is not touching that, but the signal is being split. It's going to hit a cab model. It's all in stereo. That's going back to the amp in mono. That is going to front of house in stereo. Does that make sense? Yeah? Good. So, although you're not getting a full power amp feed, you're getting a preamp feed, and the vast majority of amps with effects loops, a lot of the tone is coming from the preamp anyway, so you're getting that sound. You don't get any power amp saturation. If you're lucky enough to play at volumes where you're going to get power amp saturation, hooray. But generally, you're going to just get the sound of the preamp. So you're still going to get that. And then it's to the front of house, clean, consistent. And I came up with that doing a tour with a pop artist and needed stereo. I wasn't going direct, I was using backline, but I didn't particularly want to carry 2 of my favorite amps around because in a flight case they were around 60 kilos, which is really quite heavy. And so it was, okay, can I do this? Can I send a feed to front of house and it all be nice and stereo, but monitor mono on stage? This will do that. So that's a really cool 4 cable method trick. And you only have to lug around 1 amp, which is beautiful. So going back to this real quick. So here is just a quick another way. Let me reload that preset. There we go. Just keeping on the comments. Nothing. Good. Hopefully I'm being clear. Marvelous. Another way you can do this is if I pull that back up there. So now we are going. So that's just a stereo amp. Simples. Now, I'm going to do it this way. I've run out of DSP, so let's just get rid of something. There we go. So if you're on HX Stomp, for example, you can go, right, okay, send 1, pull that down, and then like that. So this is a slightly different way of doing it, but the concept is the same. You can do that there if you want. No, you want it there. Come on. There we go. So guitar in, hit the stuff, amp model, great, brilliant. That's just the amp model, by the way, not the amp and cab. Stereo, feed gets split, that's going out of send 1. So actually the way I have it, I want to go out of send 3. That should work. Yeah, beautiful. There we go. Oh, can't remember how I've set this up. Never mind. Anyway. So, it's going well. Guitar comes in, hits the stuff, signal gets split, so that will be your send out of one of the effects loop sends of Stomp, for example. That would go to your amp on stage, then it hits the cab. It doesn't come back here because that's just a send, and then goes out of the main outputs to front of house. Does that make sense? Hopefully so. I'm here, better late than never. Evening, Tony. So, experience random preset high volume increases when going to front of house from the XLR from Helix. But if we're going to a power cab from quarter inch jack, then from speaker cab to front of house, I have no problems. ZZR Jeff, I don't know fully how to handle that because I'm slightly confused, but I'll have a think and I'll try and throw you a message. Let's have a look at that. So hopefully that bit of thing with the Stomp makes sense as well. But that's essentially it. Now you kind of have to choose mono or stereo. Now, a lot of PAs, you're going to be running stereo, but the speakers aren't far apart enough to actually get a decent stereo spread if you're playing a small club or bar. So mono is fine, and then you just use mono effects. If you want the option of mono or stereo, then obviously you just come out, you put stereo effects in, and then you just go out the mono output. It will sum to mono, and happy days. But yeah, that initial kind of thing, so that is the best way, I think, to run mono and stereo at the same time. So you're monitoring mono on stage, but stereo front of house. You're still getting all your effects. Everything sounds wonderful. The sound engineer likes you, and you get kind of the interaction with some kind of amp on stage as well. But I do encourage you, if you haven't already, to check out the Power Cab range because it is marvellous. And that's kind of basically it. It's a fairly quick one tonight. Throw me any questions you like. I'll leave this open, so hopefully we can answer some. Sorry about the false start at the beginning. I'm an idiot. That's it. We're going to be here again every week. Tune in, same time, same place. Although next week's probably going to be Thursday. So there we go. But I hope everyone stays safe and well. I will post the link for this. I'll upload it to Custom Tone, post the link, download it, have a play. If this is something that you want to mess around with, then go for it. Just quick this. Christopher says, best foot switch to use with Helix Native for home use? That's a very good question. Some kind of MIDI controller, MIDI over USB. Yeah, I can't answer that because I'm not sure. And apologies, I didn't turn my email off. That was the big. Can't help you on that one, unfortunately, because it's not an area I'm particularly familiar with. But just do a bit of digging. Gearpage and various forums will help you out a lot better than I can. Apologies for being so vague. Again, thanks everyone for tuning in. Tune in again next week. We'll have another Nick or Tony up, and stay safe. Take it easy. Bye.